As I said earlier, one of the defining features for most numeration systems, I suppose there are ones that aren't positional, but I'm not actually sure of any off the top of my head, but most numeration systems are built off of exponents. We call those exponents bases. And in particular, ours, the Hindu-Arabic system that, thanks to hundreds of years of trade and the wonderful magic of colonialism, is used most of the world over, is written in terms of base 10. So, for example, like we talked about, if we think of a very large number, something like 978,345,162, well, we can think of that very large number as being a collection of all 900, basically a billion things, so like almost $1 billion if you're fairly wealthy, but at this point, there's a couple people who are outpacing you by a little bit there, but you can think of it in that way, or you can think of it in terms of those groups of 10. You can think of it in terms of 900 millions, that is 9 10 to the 8ths, along with 7 10 to the 7ths, 8 10 to the 6ths, 3 10 blah 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 blah, and so on down the line, splitting it up into all of those separate little pieces, because our number system is built in base 10, built in those powers of 10, as it were. And for comparison, because the Babylonian system was built on powers of 60, we would say that was base 60. And the Mayan system is kind of base 20, but it's also got that weird adjustment to hit 360s. Really, though, it's base 20 with adjustment. And there are any number of other bases we can work around. Now, for the rest of this section, most of what we're intended to focus on is the conversion, going from base 10 to others, and others to base 10. But before I get on to that, I do want to take a tangent here, talk about some of this stuff, because, well, when you're thinking of these bases, you're thinking of these number systems, even though you're probably not thinking of it in that way, your head's going to be very much locked into a base 10 system because it's basically all you've ever used. And the systems we've presented so far, well, they're interesting, but they're prehistoric in, well, a lot of meaningful ways. You know, you're not going to find very many people who are out there trying to count in terms of 360s using flipped over shells and dots. You just write the numbers. But there are actually uses for some of these I'll say standard, it's a bit disrespectful, but from these different number-based systems. And as we're going through our problems here, as we're going through our examples for the conversions, I'm also going to give some of the context for ways that they can and have been used. And in particular, before I get into that important stuff, or get into the actual math, I do want to drop in a bit of not so much history, but context for one really important system that is still used today, and that is binary.